bar and to sort of complete the package as we have in other areas.
My Lords, it's valuable to be able to speak immediately after my noble friend Baroness Harding of Winscombe, because it gives me an opportunity just to address some remarks he made on Wednesday last week when we were considering this bill on report, when she suggested that there was a fundamental disagreement between us about our view as to how serious online safety was. The suggestion being that somehow I didn't think it was terribly important. And I'd just like to take the opportunity to rebut that, but also to add to it and say that other things are also important. And one of the things that's important is privacy. We haven't discussed privacy quite as much in your Lordship's House in relation to this bill as we have freedom of expression. But privacy is tremendously important too. And 247, the Government Amendment 247A, which is the amendment I'm rising to speak to, represents the most astonishing level of intrusion. In fact, I find it very hard to see how the government can think it can get away with saying that this is compatible with the provisions of the European Convention on Human Rights, which we incorporated into law some 20 years ago, and thus creating a whole law of privacy that now is vindicated in the court. It isn't enough just to go around saying it's proportionate and necessary as a mantra. It has to be true. And what this provision does is it says, first of all, that a private business, an agency, has the right to go into a private business with no warrant, no let or hindrance, and is able to look at its processes, its data, and its equipment at will. Now, I know of no other business that can be subjected to that without a warrant, without some legal process in advance pertinent to that instance, that case, that business. My noble friend Lord Bethell said that the internet has been abused by people who are carrying out evil things. He mentioned terrorism, for example, and he might have mentioned other things too. But mobile telephones, the telephone system is abused by people conducting terrorism. Royal Mail is abused by people conducting terrorist activities. But we do not, nonetheless, allow those communications to be intruded into without some sort of warrant or process. So it doesn't seem to me that the fact that the systems can be abused is sufficient to justify what is being proposed. My noble friend the Minister says this can only happen offline. I really didn't understand, frankly, what he meant by that. In fact, I'm not sure. I was going to say I disagreed with him, but I'm moving to the point of saying I actually think it's almost meaningless to say it's going to happen offline. He might be able to explain that. And he also said that Ofcom will not see individual traffic. But neither of those points, neither the point about being offline, nor the point about not seeing individual traffic, is actually on the face of the bill. So when we ask ourselves, what is the purpose of this astonishing power? This was referred to obliquely to some extent by the noble Baroness Lady Fox of Buckley. The purpose is in subsection 1 of clause 91, to which this subsection is being added as a sort of, being squeezed in, subordinate to it. It says that any information that they, Ofcom, require for the purpose of exercising or deciding whether to exercise any of their online safety functions. So this can be entirely a fishing expedition. It can be entirely for the purpose of educating Ofcom as to what it should be doing. There's nothing here saying we can have these powers of intrusion if we suspect there is criminality, if we suspect there is a breach of the codes of conduct or any other offence. It's entirely a fishing expedition, entirely for the purpose of exercising or deciding whether to exercise. Now, those are the intrusions imposed upon companies, and in some ways I'm less concerned about them than I am about what I'm going to come to next, which is the intrusion of privacy on individuals and users. I wonder if we could actually sit back and listen to ourselves and what we're saying, and then go and try and explain it to ordinary people. We're going to come to this when we discuss end-to-end encryption. To ordinary people as to what it is can actually be happening. There are two very significant breaches, of course, of the protections in place for privacy on the internet that arise from what is proposed. The first is that if you allow someone into a system and into equipment, especially from outside, then of course you increase the risk and the possibility that a further party, probably a more hostile party, sufficiently well equipped with resources, and we know state actors with evil intent who are sufficiently well equipped with resources, can get in through that or similar holes. And so you weaken the privacy of the system is itself structurally weakened as a result of doing this. And the second thing, of course, is that if Ofcom is able to see what is going on, then the system becomes leaky in the direction of Ofcom. And they can come into possession of information, and some of it could be of an individual character. Now, my noble friend says that they will not be allowed to release any data. There's all sorts of protections are in place. We know that. And we fully I fully accept the honesty and integrity of Ofcom as an institution and of its staff. But we also know that things get leaked. We know that things escape. So very large holes are being built into the protections of privacy that exist as a result of this. And yet, in the remarks, my noble friend, in the remarks made so far by my noble friend, there's been no reference at all to privacy. So I really will just ask, I'll finish by saying, I think we are racing ahead and not thinking, good Lord, my modest amendment in the last group to bring a well-established piece of legislation, the Consumer Rights Act, to bear upon this bill was challenged on the grounds there hadn't been an impact assessment. I mean, where is the impact assessment for this? Where is even the smell test for this in relation to explaining it to the public? So if my noble friend were able to expatiate at the end on the implications for privacy and attempt to give us some assurance, I think that would be some consolation, because I doubt he's going to give way and do the right thing and withdraw this amendment.
I think that the debate so far